So there's this line from Seneca, and he says, the whole world is a temple of the gods. And I mean, when you look out at a sunset like this, when you're just out, it's hard to think that he's not right. You know, the world is magnificent. And one, I think you want to take moments and just like look at beauty like this, because I mean, it's there for you and it's free. But I also think we should take note how Marcus does. Like, Marcus would have described this vividly, but I think he also would have described sort of equally vividly, you know, the way these rocks are aligned on the road, and the way, you know, he talks about how grain comes up and bends under its own weight. You know, he talk about maybe how a little pond forms here. This is one of my favorite things. Like, I love how you see trees as they come over and they bend, but then they're clipped perfectly by trucks and cars coming underneath. I think Marcus talks about the symmetry of nature, the perfectness of it, the randomness of it. Yeah, I just come out here, I look at the sunset. I think that's what the Stoics are best of. It's funny because they had this reputation as being dour, as being boring, but I think it's actually the opposite. They weren't depressed or down on life. They just didn't need a lot of fancy things to be happy. There's this thing from the Stoics where they say, you know, very little is needed for the happy life. When you look at a sunset like this, I mean, this doesn't cost anything. You know, there are people on the street who live in trailers, right? You can just drive down and see it anytime, but how many people are sitting in expensive condos downtown, you know, wondering why they're bored or complaining about traffic or complaining about noise? This is a 20-minute drive away, and they could experience it, but they just don't. You know, the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius talks about looking up at the stars and imagining yourself running with them. I mean, I think you just look up at the sky and you feel sort of connected to something. You feel humbled by it. It's like somebody put this on just for you. You know, whether you're religious or not, like, something made this, and it's there, and you can see it at any time. So Marcus Aurelius would talk about how, you know, on a regular basis, you want to take time to experience nature. Seneca talked about the importance of going out and taking walks, but Marcus talked about looking up at the sky and seeing yourself running alongside it, how many times the sun has come up and down, and just how that's the cycle of life. And so I take it to mean that every day Marcus Aurelius watched the sun go up. You know, he talks about rising early before dawn, but I think he also would have taken the time to watch the sun set. Maybe that's on campaign, maybe that's in the palace, maybe it was just looking up while he sat in the Colosseum. But, you know, I think a Stoic should take a minute every day to experience this sort of beautiful picture that's happening constantly. And obviously, you know, a beautiful sunset like that is great, but, you know, he might also look at the way that the trees are clipped by passing traffic. He might look at the way that this tree fell perfectly into the crook of another tree and is caught and will sit there forever until it decays. You know, you talk about the flecks of foam on a boar's mouth. You talk about the furrowed brow of the lion. You know, this tree here, this is a cedar. All this is cedar. It's a horrible invasive species, and yet it's also quite beautiful. And it's not really any prettier or uglier than these oaks, which people prize. And so, you know, the Stoics are able to see beauty in everything. And I think Marcus Aurelius would tell you every day to find something beautiful and to sit and meditate on it, even if only for just a minute or two. Hey, thanks for watching Daily Stoic. If you want to learn more about Stoicism, you can check out some of our other videos here. Subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. Keep learning, keep studying, and remember those 4 Stoic virtues: courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom.